Hello, West Forest Focus. It was the game Nottingham Forest fans have been waiting for at the weekend as the Reds deservedly beat West Ham 2-0, kept a clean sheet to go 5 points clear of the Premier League relegation zone as it stands. Joining me to discuss the game in full and ask if Forest can push on from here with tough fixtures to come are, first of all, Reds fan Greg Mitchell. Morning, Greg. How are you doing?
Good. I'm going to steal Mark's line and say morning or what a beautiful day, because it is after a win like that. So good morning.
Yeah, certainly is. And it's certainly a beautiful day if you had more than 2 hours sleep after your previous appearance. So, yeah, you're looking fresh. Second guest today is Michael Temple. Temps, you well?
I'm good, mate. We've had Sunday since then. So it appears that Greg's woke up thinking this was yesterday. Has he had some kind of crazy hangover and a 30-hour kip after patronising the NAV for 12 hours after that win?
My last drink on Saturday was at the Indian. It was a raspberry lemonade. It was lovely.
Yeah, of course it was.
3 a.m.
And our third guest today is Reds legend Garry Birtles. Morning, Gary. You doing okay?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. Greg, I'll give you the honour to kick us off just with general thoughts on the weekend and kind of what it means for everyone going into this week, as we're all feeling pretty upbeat. But how did you sum up the game?
It was a star performance, especially the way we've been going the last few months. Clean sheets, attacking threats, just constant waves of attacks. The crowd were up for it. It was just a brilliant day. It reminded me of the similar time last year, and also the improvement on last year. You know, the win against West Ham last season was really, really cagey, and we absolutely deserved this one. And even in the first half, it should have been 3 or 4-0. We were just constantly at them. So it's strange what a difference a win makes. Suddenly you're looking at the table going, oh, even with 10 points deduction or 6 points deduction, we might be all right with this. So, yeah, keep playing like that and we'll keep pulling away for sure.
I suppose, Temps, like Greg says, it was the fact that a lot of our wins in the Premier League, you know, we've not necessarily deserved them, but we battled to them. But I think this is one where we had all facets of the game covered, and it was probably our most comfortable one since promotion, perhaps. I don't know. What do you think?
Complete performance for me. Can't think of a single Forest player that had a bad game, and we dominated from the off. It was always going to be about that goal, wasn't it? There was nervousness at 0-0 because of the set-piece threat that they carry and the relative weakness we've had at that point. But a really bold team selection that translated into dominance, that translated into meaningful possession, attacking fullbacks that we saw the very best of, and they're able to be rock solid in their defensive duties as well. I could laud the centre halves. I could talk about the wingers, the dynamism of the centre mids. So much to talk about today, but as Greg alluded to at the start, it's all extremely positive and with great value for that win.
Comment from James David Smith here. He was sat near Greg in the Indian. Was too nervous to say hello to such a big celeb. I mean, if it was Gary, I could understand it. But if it's Greg, just go and say hello and say whatever you think. Don't worry.
He could have proven my thing about the drink I was drinking as well. Here we go.
Oh yeah, true. So many times, Gary, like we've spoken on this podcast about avoidable goals, and quite rightly because there's been so many of them. But this was kind of the performance that we've been waiting for as well. Like Forest, they defended so well. We'll come on some specifics, but as a unit from front to back, it felt like they had some cohesion and they deserved the clean sheet as well.
Well, let's go back to the Newcastle game. That we should have won that game. Those goals were just, they were an embarrassment a little bit. And if you keep doing that, you're going to keep being at the bottom of the table. It's all right saying, well, that's the way the game is now. You have to play it from the back. All right, continue to make mistakes and get relegated. Would you rather get relegated or stay in the Premier League by doing the right things? I think sometimes we played that long ball, and that caused them problems as well. It turned them, it put pressure on them, and I just thought from goalkeeper to striker, everybody put in a performance. We didn't take any chances. We should have been 4-0 up. I thought their keeper was magnificent at times. He made some fantastic saves. And that shows just that we've been talking about goalkeepers over the past few weeks. That shows you how important a very good goalkeeper can be. That would have been an embarrassment for West Ham again had it not been for him. And I just thought we dealt with their attacking threat, which is potent as we've seen before. I thought we dealt with it very, very well. And I think Felipe was a big part of that coming back in.
Yes, we'll come on to that next. Just allow me to thank a few people. Indulge me by thanking some new members. because we had loads over the weekend. Deborah Morley, Ben Dyer, Ian O'Brien, David Revel, Anthony Sissons, Matt Wotton, Dan Gardner, and there's more, sorry, this won't take long. Graham M, Helen Kennedy, Philip Mills, Andrew Hyde, Deborah Morley, Ben, Duncan Smith, Ben Dyer, Anna Hewson, Andrew Watson, Derek Cotton, and Stuart Essen. Appreciate all the support. It makes it much more feasible for me to do this full time with that kind of backing. So thank you very much.
Was Tom Cobley there as well?
If he is, then that's fine. I'll take anyone. Don't worry. Tom's here, Carrie. It's all good. I suppose, Greg, Gary's right there. Well, the next thing on my list was about team selection for Felipe and Danilo come back into the team. And I know Felipe had his slip on the touchline, but otherwise I thought he was great. And Danilo, he's been so up and down. Like you think to Brentford away, he scored that goal and played really well, and then he drops off. But again, he was really good here. What did you make of those two coming in? Were they big factors in the victory?
Yeah, and I think, because of the way Murillo saved Felipe, I think we can brush over that slip because they're going to happen every so often, aren't they? And, the connection those two have together, it could be a long-term thing. If Felipe stays fit, if it makes Murillo a better player, then God, play them together because they certainly had that connection. You could tell they were more comfortable playing with each other. The way the long balls together, they were doing all these things that it looked like a really solid pairing. And when one makes a mistake, the other one's there to mop it up, which is exactly what you wanted. With Danilo, he just looked hungry, didn't he? His shooting boots were on, he's passing, again, some long balls. He's still going to have bad games. Every player is, and we just shouldn't dwell on it because there's some real quality in there with him. And keep him playing whilst he's hot. Keep him playing and keep him in that team.
I think the thing with centre half, you made a good point there. I mean, I played centre half, for quite a bit of my career, and so important to get that partnership right. We always talked about, strike partnerships, how important it is to get that right. Centre halves are as vitally important because, the communication between the two of you is vital, and they can run the back four. And I think the combination of those two, is going to, if they both stay fit, is going to be, so very good for us because, that they are class players. They are in the Premier League by right. It's good to see that, Felipe is there. He's dominant. He's good in the air. Reads the game well. Murillo brings it out from the back. He reads the game well as well, and you can see the confidence. I think that Felipe being there gave Murillo a little bit as well, and if they can build on that, I think that's unbelievable going forward. The only negative I thought at times was Tavares. He got in really good positions going forward, and his delivery just wasn't good enough. He delayed it when he didn't need to delay it. But all through that was just nitpicking a little bit, but. From front to back, it was just, great to watch. It was nervy in the last few minutes, but when isn't it at the City ground?
We'll come back to fullbacks there on the list as well. Thames, this is an interesting comment. It was sort of on my list for later about Dan saying, he'd bring Niakate in for Villa because they've got quicker forwards. There's an interesting selection poser now for Nuno in a good way. I mean, Sangare's back, but do you bring him back in? Bolly's back, but do you bring him back in? Personally, I just stick with these 11 and say, you've done a great job. It's your shirt to lose. How do you see that situation?
Hard to change those centre halves if Felipe's fit, if he's able to get through a game a week, because there's a knee problem there, isn't there? He needs to manage it. He needs to be careful. He certainly can't play 2 games a week, but I'd like to think that he gets another chance to start. I hope that Nico Williams is brushing up on his Portuguese, because the majority of the shouts across that back four were in that, and poor old Nico is probably having to react to the movement rather than the calls. But I just want to talk about Murillo a little bit more. I always had Antonio down since his Forest days as being one of the archetypal strength, pace, finishing, an athletic line leader, a guy you can stick up top on his own, and a fella who's going to give a centre half a hard time, not just by running in behind, but by roughing them up as well. And Murillo didn't just deal with him. He had a cigar on while he was doing it. And that slip from Felipe gave us a chance to see just how good, just how perceptive he was. Didn't rush in, didn't fly on him, jockeyed into the box. And the second that Mikel Antonio tried to chop back onto his right foot, time to perfection and just nicked it off him and made him look like the child and Murillo look like the veteran. There was another incident first half where he was being hassled for the ball in the corner. Murillo had his back to goal, could have cleared it, and he won the foul by a really clever grab of Antonio's leg, lost his mind, chirped the lino, got a yellow, put himself under pressure for the rest of the game. That was a masterful performance, one-on-one, Murillo on Antonio. He was the guy running in behind, covering the long ball, which West Ham resorted to again and again and again. They were playing like the team in 17th. We were playing like the mid-table side, and it was just really warming to see that we've got to that point. So hopefully that reinforces the justification for naming an unchanged back four, if not an unchanged 11. I just thought he was really, really excellent, and that was a 9 out of 10 performance for me. Tempered only by the fact I think he got slightly bored in the second half and played a few needless diags, didn't he? Trying to launch attacks, but the vast majority of everything I saw from Murillo in this game was the peak of what we hope he can all be.
Going back to the point that was made about the Villa, they've got tricky players. I'll just mention Bowen for West Ham. He was the one I feared most. I know, and we know what Antonio can do, but look what he did. When we played against them down at West Ham when we lost the 3-2. He has the potential to harm anybody in that Premier League. And I just thought we kept him really quiet. He was more or less non-existent, and that's down to a combination of midfield, tightening things up a little bit, not allowing him the space, the time he needs to do what he does, because he is one of those players that will always come and hurt you if you give him time, give him space, and we just didn't do that.
And Kudus as well. We'll come on to Williams, like I say, but kept him quiet. Just on that bit where Antonio went through Garry, from the striker's point of view and the defender's point of view, talk us through it. It was the best thing Murillo did, like Temp said, slow down and make Antonio make a choice. Was that the best thing to do there?
As a defender, I was always told, stay on your feet, don't lunge in, don't give them the opportunity to, and that's what Antonio would have been hoping for. He would have been hoping for somebody to try and, panic a little bit, lunge in, but he didn't. We didn't do that, and I think that confused him a little bit. I was always told by Brian Clough, if you're in that position, make your mind up quick. If the goalkeeper saves it or you miss it, but make your mind up what you're going to do very quickly. And I just think he did it a little bit, but it was good defending. And it's the number of times now you see defenders just dive in ridiculously and giving stupid penalties away. We didn't do that. And, that's, if you learn lessons from every game, which we seem to do against West Ham at the weekend, that's all you can ask for. And my mate's a big West Ham fan, and he texted me after. He said, you thoroughly deserved it. You were so much better than we were, and in every department. And I think that summed it up, from a West Ham fan.
Yeah, and this was the other big point for me, Greg, which kind of extends on what Garry was saying. Greg Orm says, we gave so many free kicks away in London Stadium and corners. I think their first corner was in really late in the first half, and the only stupid free kick I can think of was Origi on the touchline, where he really wrestled, I think it was a Gad or someone, for a clear foul. But otherwise, our decision making and our discipline was so much better, wasn't it?
Yeah, and when they had that really dangerous free kick up at the Bridgeford end, 20 yards out, if that, Danilo lays down, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, this is just like that Brentford thing. And you've got Dominguez over the ball, just watching, making sure nobody's playing any silly games. And, you got one of the best set piece takers there, and he just didn't know what to do. It was too close for him, straight over the bar, no issues. We looked controlled, we looked composed, and we looked ready for all this. It's like we'd really thought about it. We knew the threat, and we knew what not to give away, really. So, there's hardly any silly free kicks, hardly any, the corners. It just shows how little they threatened us, really, because he is one of the best set piece takers in the country, and not to give him that opportunity must have frustrated the hell out of Moyes.
Well, Nuno said, you got to give Nuno credit, because he must have said before the game, he must have mentioned Ward-Prowse, saying, look what he did to Forest, in the 3-2. His delivery was unbelievable in that game. Do not give silly free kicks away. Do not give, anything that he can hurt us with. And I think we did that, quite well, to be quite honest.
And also, excuse me, as Andrew says here, don't dive in like Mason Holgate. I mean, that was like the worst tackle of the season by a million miles. That was absolutely crazy.
That's what I'm saying. You stay on your feet. I mean, you're 13 minutes in, and he could, he's cost his team massively. It was a shocking challenge, and he was shaking his head, thinking he'd not given a foul away. That's the baffling thing.
I know, crazy. Let's just take a word to thank our sponsors at this point, and great to have 370 people with us this early in the morning. Thanks as ever to Trent Navigation. Mondays, you might feel like you've earned a beer after a good weekend. Double stamps on your beer loyalty card. So have a good night at the Trent Navigation if you can. Offers throughout the week, and then you can enjoy the football on Saturday. Right. Where to next was on the list. First half chances temps I'd written down here. We just created not loads and loads of chances, but we created clear chances. Obviously Elanga springs to mind. Gibbs White had a really good save off Areola, and then I'll get Garry to talk us through the goal. But in general, our chance creation and the positivity from particularly the wingers, I thought was great. So
positive, so keen to get forward. Defenders, fullbacks, frightened of the pace of Elanga, the poise of Hudson-Odoi. We've got to praise Elanga for that performance. You could look back and think extremely wasteful, but he's got himself into positions in the opposition box to get a clear sight of goal on another day with a less inspired Areola. He has a swing at that one first half, and it flies in. It sets him off from there. Mark Southerns did a load of research, didn't he, on the WhatsApp group about Elanga's effectiveness as a Premier League creator and goal scorer. He's an illustrious company at the top of the list, which includes the household names of the Premier League. And I don't think he's quite converting that into the goals and assists that he deserves. And that sounds a bit cruel because his numbers are fine, but he's capable of so much more. He's only 21. There's so much more to come. But just gets in the box, gets in that area where Mr. Birtles used to bang them in for fun as well. It's so important for that winger to become the second striker when you've got someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi and attacking fullbacks creating for you. I just think he's really effective in that sense, as Hudson-Odoi is with his goal threat, which comes from cutting inside and getting a shot off. So we were a little bit wasteful. There were nerves because we've been sucker punched in the past where we've dominated games and the opposition have nicked one from a corner, a free kick, a lapse in concentration, whatever. But that was the key thing. While we didn't score, we continued to concentrate. There was a focus, intensity at the back, and you kind of knew it was coming. And when it did, it was well-deserved and a bit of true class.
I've got that stat here that Temps mentioned that Mark dropped in the WhatsApp group yesterday morning. So this is, you'll love this, Garry, I'm sure, as a purist. Midfielders sorted by non-penalty expected goal involvement since Nuno became Forest manager. So the top three are Saka, Odegaard and Richarlison. And then Elanga is in fourth, ahead of Phil Foden, Mo Salah, Trossard, Palmer, Martinelli and Elise of Crystal Palace. So he's playing very well on the numbers, back it up. Just on the goal, Garry, just talk us through it in terms of I didn't give Dominguez any credit, but it was actually he fizzed the ball into him quite well. But then take it from there just in terms of the striker's play to put that one away so late in the first half.
It's about composure, it's about touch. Don't panic when it comes your way. It's easy for me to say that, but it's exactly what you do as a striker. He did everything right, and it was just a delight to watch. I was a long way away from it, but you can just see from behind, how the quality of it, and that's how important it is to have somebody like that in your team. And watching them from behind, 9 times out of 10 they're going to make it count. And it was just, a great. We usually concede at those particular points. With number of times we've conceded going into half time. But yeah, it was a striker's. It was a striker's finish. It's simple as that. And if we can continue to do that, going back to Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, I always was told. I can remember the Liverpool game when we beat them in the European Cup at the City Ground. Brian Clough said to me before the game, he said, just get in the box, get in the box, get in the box. When I got the ball at my feet, not just as a striker waiting for it to come in from Robbo or Martin, he said, get in the box. And that's where the second goal came from. Because it stuck in my mind. I picked it up. I thought, if I don't get in the box, I'm going to get a right rollicking here. My touch wasn't the best, but Thompson got a touch to it, and then I just crossed it. But that's how important it is, and I think Alanga and Hudson-Odoi do that. They frighten defenders to death, and the more they're doing it, the more confident they're getting, and that's going to create a lot of discomfort for defenders. No matter how good you are as a defender, you can be the best in the Premier League. When you've got players like that, with pace and trickery, you've got to be so careful. And I think if we can keep them the fit, the first 11 fit, like I think Greg said, we can pull away from this without a doubt. And those two results yesterday, went fabulously for us. It took the pressure off a little bit more as well. And Everton played Palace, so that's a massive game.
Elanga's worst touch of the game turned into a half chance as well. It popped up off his foot, readjusted himself, and got that volley off, didn't he? Which just fizzed over the crossbar. I'm excited about what he can become. I think early season we talked about all the endeavour, the lack of end product, that the goals and assists have come. But we need to give him credit for his age, the stage he's at in his development, the fact that he's now a first team regular for the first time. It was interesting to hear Andy Reid, a soundbite from Andy Reid about trying to restore him to Champions League level. He's played Champions League football, this lad. And while he was coaching him, very different type of winger, he just wanted to remind him who he is, why he should be confident, where he's at in the stage of life that he is. His dad was a professional footballer, comes from a good school. But I think there's so much potential there. And in those numbers that Mark mentioned, he's eclipsed Brennan Johnson for production since Nuno's arrived. So yeah, let's see where he can go. But he's exciting.
Yeah, a comment here from Scott Markham about how it reminds there are flashbacks to those kind of back era players, Bart Williams, Stone, players who can ghost into the box and create goals. Thanks to Scott for becoming a member. Also Dan Gardner and Ben Bolton, very much appreciate that as well. Going back to Taiwo, Greg, someone said it was like a Collymore goal. I don't know, it was quite that kind of individual. Yeah, but in terms of a striker who can produce a moment of magic, all our shots had hit the keeper until then, and he found the corner, and that's why you pay the money, I guess, really.
Yeah. Go on.
No, I was going to say on Taiwo, and then just any panic when he went off as well, because we were all a bit worried at that point, I guess.
Yeah, that was a Paul H comment. I saw that. I think he was the only one on the team that could score that goal. His strength, his way he's able to turn. But the Dominguez pass, I mean, it's pass of the game. He's gone through two players. I think it's quick. It's awkward for Taiwo. Just the way he turns. That's when Wood got injured and he'd started to play that game, kind of how Taiwo was with the strength. And you realise just how important the guy is. He's brilliant. And yeah, when he goes off, you worry, especially with what he's been through and his injury form. If he gets a knock, you never know if you're going to see him again, to be honest. So fantastic news after that he gets interviewed and he says he's okay and raring to go. And it just shows that we can utilise him for an hour of the game and then get him off and get him ready for the next game. He certainly did his job, didn't he? He's just a fantastic player. The thing take your shirt off, though. It can be so costly. I understand the message and it was a lovely moment for him, but that can be so crucial. And it looked like club numbers as well. So he obviously knew that he was going to do it and the punishment behind it, but we'll let it go this time because he certainly deserved that moment.
Greg, the thing about strikers, what was more important to me than anything was my first touch. And as a kid, growing up, I used to throw a tennis ball against the wall, to any height and any power. So when it came back to me, if I could control a small ball, okay, then a big ball was going to be no problem. And that's the important thing about that goal. The touch is vital. If it bobbles away from you, you don't get that goal. Everything he did regarding that was absolutely superb. The concentration, the timing of everything, his awareness of what was around him was just so really good to watch. And, the strikers need that first touch, and the best strikers in the world have that first touch. And you just saw how important that was in that situation. We used to, in training, have a big circle around you. You went in the middle and you got balls pinged at you at different paces from all around the circle, and you had to react, one from behind. And that is so good for, a striker when you get that sort of training, because then you can take it out on the pitch and, you can see he does that. You know, he learn your trade, as I was always used to be told by the gaffer, and he's learned his trade, and you know, he's a joy to watch. He really is.
It shows his form's coming back as well, because he's always had the physicality. Like, he got wrestled by Zuma, who should have got booked. In fact, Zuma should have been sent off because
that should have been a second yellow, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, because he fouled him in the first half. But also that kind of, he doesn't have a huge amount of finesse to his game, but that composure, like Garry said, that first touch is back, so that was great. I do sound like a miserable sod when I say don't take your shirt off when you score a goal, because you only need one silly trip on the halfway line, stopping a break, and then you get sent off or something.
It feels like he needed that moment, didn't it? Like, it was clearly a well thought out message of his, and it meant a lot to him. So it would have been given the green light, but I think you only get one of them a season.
I always take my shirt off when I score.
I never knew you played Temps.
Well, I like to mention it.
Oh dear. How were you feeling as the game went on, Greg? I know you're our emotional barometer. How were the nerves?
Good. It's just, do you know when the Trent ends start going? Do you know when there's like a big moment and you just hear it? Because we're in Lower Bridgeford and you hear it travelling across the pitch towards you, and you think, yeah, Man City vibes. We've got this. You know, we're all in this together. And the Cloughie stands up, and every single stands up, and you thought, it did feel like, I know it was close at the end, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't really nervous, but it did feel like we had a better chance of getting a second than they did equalising. And it was just one of those real good games, feel good games, made you just changes your whole week ahead, doesn't it? And it just felt like everyone was in it together. So yeah, it wasn't too bad in the stands, and you could really see that.
One way it could have been a little less nervy is if the officials had done their job and given us a penalty. What was your take on the Nico Williams incident, Temps?
It's a penalty, isn't it? There's no question. He gets stamped on the outside of the ankle, top of the foot. It's a very clumsy challenge. It's not a yellow card. It's the pattern of his stride. It's completely different to what happened to Hudson-Odoi on the break for that sending off. But it's a penalty. And how someone can sit there and watch it from 5 angles and decide it's not a penalty is quite unbelievable. You could tell he was hurt. Maybe he was being a little bit theatrical, Nico, to try and force a game stop or get the review. You look at that on the camera. If the ref had been sent to the monitor to look at that, he's given a penalty. Cannot understand for the life of me how that was not given.
Yeah. The ref must. I imagine the ref's actually quite annoyed, because surely he'd have given it, but who knows? Is that
the ref's
annoying?
Not bothered.
But that's two on the trot we've been denied. You know, against Newcastle. You know, that was a clear penalty as well. I mean, this is what we're getting onto VAR. It really annoys me. We have to talk about it most weeks, but it matters, and it's you have to have an ex-player in there, because an ex-player would tell the official within Stockley Park, hold on a minute, that is a penalty. You know, they know. We know as ex-players when it is, and when, you know, it's so easy just to get ex-players in there involved. Do it next season. Goodness.
I'll tell you about technology. So we're in the stand. My friend who's watching abroad obviously sends us a video of it whilst the decision's still happening. We see it's a clear penalty. The people behind us watch it, see it's a clear penalty. Half the crowd have seen it before they make this farcical decision. VAR isn't fit for purpose. It never has been. But how, like Temp said, you can have people in a studio watching that as a player's foot, even if the guy didn't mean it, the motion stopped, his foot gets trampled on, then he gives him a little shove on the way down. It's incredible. And it's no wonder people are starting to think, is there a conspiracy here? Is there something more going on? Because you cannot keep having these decisions go against you. Not that it's not like it used to be when the ref makes a bad decision, match of the day talk about it, says, oh, that should have been a penalty, and everyone goes away thinking, yeah, they need to improve. When it's as clear as that, and when they have all those people making a decision after it, they can't keep getting away with it. And no wonder clubs like ourselves now are looking at other options and seeing what we can do to just try and put more pressure on them to make the right decision, because it's not just one or two. It seems to be going against us on many, many occasions now. And they've really got to start looking at themselves and saying, can we keep getting away with this? Because it's just ridiculous. It's just incompetent. And the thing is, these referees, these VAR officials, they get a little slap on the wrist, and then it'll be Man City Chelsea next weekend, and they'll be reffing it and being the fourth official. It's a joke.
I think the frustration for me, the two frustrations at the moment are like they're constantly moving the goalpost with VAR. What's a penalty? Even at the start of this season, isn't a penalty now. I think certainly last season to this season, there's a total difference. And then you watch, you watch other games, and you like last week, Taiwo and the Jota one, very similar, totally different outcomes. This week, Arsenal at Burnley, I think it's Trossard gets a penalty for almost identical incident, and nothing's said about it. Like, yeah, that's a penalty, no problem. And you see the same thing in our game, and nothing's given. And it's just like Greg says, I don't believe in the conspiracy theory thing. I think it's just incompetence and not knowing their roles properly. We've got Mark Clattenburg in Temps, an unusual move, but maybe a good one. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I'm slightly embarrassed by that. I mean, he's become a caricature, hasn't he? Gladiator, pantomime villain, and has a particular personality type that grated when he was a ref. Very good ref. He was a very good ref. But I'm not a particular fan of that. What's he going to do? Pick up the phone to Howard Webb and expect to be handled somewhat differently because he used to be a Premier League referee? I'm not sure about that one. It's the unsaid thing is that we're going to use him to complain to Premier League match officials, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't want to say too much, but not an appointment I would have made.
There was an interesting comment earlier on. I think it was Greg Oram that said about we're going to use him to speak to the players before games, almost to say how to like treat this certain official and how you should act around them, to get the better. And if it's getting to that point of like micro-analysing things, maybe there will be a positive come from it. I mean, we're going to be the first to do it, aren't we? So if we get something good from it, let's wait and see, I say.
He can't work Saturday nights though, mate, because he's refereeing the Travelator. Like what? Is he just doing the midweekers?
I think that's pre-recorded.
Gary looks unimpressed. What do you think about it, Gary?
It's pathetic. The whole thing is, they're just, papering over cracks again and again and again. I've just mentioned it about 10 minutes ago. You have to get ex-players involved because they'll help out. They can, they can liaise with referees. You can say what you like about, people at Stockley Park. They haven't played the game professionally. And that's not being big-headed or anything like that. They haven't played the game. They don't know the ins and outs of the little, the trickery that, players use. But it's some of the decisions. I mean, going back to the Bolly one, I mean, when he got sent off, I mean, that was one of the most embarrassing decisions of the season, without doubt. And they're doing nothing about it. They just paper over the cracks and try and say the right things. And, sometimes you watch Soccer Saturday, they've got Mike Dean in there. And the lads on the panel, you can see them as desperate to, sort of have a pop, because even Mike Dean is still a referee defending, sort of decisions sometimes. It's just embarrassing. They've got to change it. Admit that they've got it wrong. But I think there's an arrogance there that they won't admit they're getting it wrong. And clearly everybody in the country knows they're getting it wrong because we're all talking about it all the time. It's just embarrassing.
Let me thank another new member, Matthew McPherson, who, looking at that headshot, I think is Matt from the Forest All Over podcast, Chris Ailes, mate. It's a very handsome actor's headshot, so I think that's Matt.
Great guy.
So thanks. Great guy, lovely guy.
Yeah.
The other thing we should discuss around officials, Greg, is the red card. A few people saying, not of a Forest persuasion, but saying, the second one wasn't a yellow card for Calvin Phillips. What did you think about the pair of yellows to equal the red?
I was, they were yellow cards. I was a bit annoyed with myself though, because my good mate Markin before the game in the pub was saying, Calvin Phillips always gets sent off against us. Put a fiver on him. Calvin Phillips, this, that, the other. And I was like, how do you know that? He says, remember when he played for Leeds and this, that, the other. So as soon as it happened, he was, I think, 125 quid better off for it. So if he could see it coming, maybe we'd done our analysis and seen it come in. But yeah, they were. He knew straight away. He knew as soon as it blew up, you could see his face worry that he was going to go. So yeah, I don't think West Ham fans have got many complaints about it. You can't see them moaning too much about him, just Moisey. So
build up of challenges that he committed. Maybe he on count back, because he did commit 3 or 4 before that happened. You think, well, how's he got away with that? Because I kept thinking he's putting his arms out again, saying he's not committed a foul. So I think they can have no qualms about that.
You think Dominguez had got on his head a bit temps through the game? Obviously, he shoves him for the yellow, or is it just a case of Phillips being frustrated at the way frankly, the way his career's going at present?
Yeah, I mean, Dominguez scored him, didn't he? For a player of such defensive intensity to create the decisive goal, to have 93% pass completion, to cover the ground that he did, that's probably the levels that people were expecting of the England international that he's playing against. He had a really bad day, Calvin Phillips. I'll defend him a little bit on the second one. It's one of those, isn't it? Ball was there. You kick the bottom of a player's foot in a game of football. It hurts like mad, but it's a frustrating foul to concede. I can see why he'd be slightly aggrieved by that yellow, but as we all know from the Willy Bolly incident, he's gone up to the ref asking for it to be looked at. They don't check the yellow, so he has to walk at that point. But I'd prefer to focus on the brilliance of Dominguez in that game. Got everywhere and did something. Not a headless chicken. Not running himself into the ground for no impact. He led the press. He led the charge. He broke things up. He won the ball. But he has that rare thing when he's in possession. He also has the poise and makes progressive passes, and that's why he's becoming now an automatic pick in that centre mid. It's going to affect Yates' minutes quite considerably, especially if Sangare comes into the mix. But Nuno is preferring these dynamic players that don't just have an elite attribute that can contribute to all phases of play. We didn't see the best of Danilo, but we saw the reason he was selected, turning defence into attack quickly, carrying the ball, progressive runs, progressive passes. But yeah, I could laud Nico Dominguez, and let's just enjoy the fact that we got one over on Calvin Phillips in this one. West Ham were poor, weren't they? Really poor. Resorted to the long ball far too much. Antonio looks like a spent force. We did a job there.
Yeah, they look like they're a team that stayed together a year too long in a lot of cases. Like Zuma looks like he's gone as well and stuff like that. And then we seal the win, Greg. Nico Williams does really well. Callum Hudson-Odoi shows composure. Temps has mentioned Dominguez. We've discussed Murillo. We had a discussion on Saturday's post-match stream about who the man of the match was because there were so many contenders. Who would it have been for you?
I loved the fact that when we got to the pub, 3 of us had 3 different names. You know, you've had a good game when that happens. Before Nico got announced, it was Dominguez for me. I just thought he was fantastic. He was everywhere. He's built up to these man of the match performances. He's always there or thereabouts, even in a losing team. So it would have been Dominguez, but Nico got it, and I was just delighted for him because he is such a good player. Defensively, attackingly, he's one of our biggest attacking threats at the minute. His ball's in, he's getting assists to his name. He's just such a quality player and so deserved. And sometimes you think these man of the match performances are who the sponsors want to have a photo with, but not this weekend. He just absolutely deserved it. And for me, between Dominguez and Nico, if they keep playing like that, we're going to keep picking up points.
What about for you, Temps?
Boy, there's a debate to be had, isn't there? There's a case for Hudson-Odoi. He was great. There's a case for Dominguez, for Williams. I'd have given it to Dominguez for all the reasons I mentioned before.
Gary, who stood out for you most, or a few names that were worthy of mention?
But Felipe for me. I just think he came in. He did nothing wrong. He just did everything you expect of a centre half. He didn't try and be clever. He played to his strengths. He marshalled everybody around. He was always, very close with Murillo, and the two of them together looked very, very good indeed. And I think it's because when you look at a player like that and you think, well, he didn't do anything spectacular. But for me, it was spectacular what he did at times because it was so easy. He makes the game look easy when he's fit and well. And he's good in the air. He's not frightened about bringing it out. He reads the game well. And he just, for me, he just stabilised things. He made me feel more comfortable watching that game.
Just a stat thing for you, right? So Nico Williams deserved that assist. Read the Origi flick, had his man on toast, found the pass. The assist for that Hudson-Odoi goal officially goes to Elanga for shanking it behind himself and giving Hudson-Odoi a tap-in. Nico Williams does not get the credit for that goal. I think he owes Elanga a beer or a protein shake or whatever his jam is.
But yeah, certainly. Hudson-Odoi for me. I thought Williams was great as well. I thought Danilo was really good and brought some control into midfield. I'll give a mention to Tavares, not for being man of the match, because I've slated him week after week on here, and I thought it was his best performance for us. Like Garry said, sometimes his delivery isn't there, but there were no mad moments from him in this game. Even the shots he took on.
Matt, he's got to get his shooting boots on, but it's not about his quality good. What he doesn't do is put it in quick enough. We have strikers in there who make runs, and he did it about 3 times, and it got blocked. Don't even look up. And when you're in that area in a good position, just put it in the box where you think your teammate will be, because Awoniyi will be in there. Elanga, Hudson-Odoi. Don't hesitate. Just put it in. That's all I was saying.
He was better though, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. But
yeah.
It's just, I know as a striker, I'm waiting for that ball to come in, and he's dithered, and then you have to come back out and make another run, and it's not good for a striker trying to do that.
I love the humour of a crowd in good spirits. And before he had that first right-footed shot, he shouldn't shoot on his right foot, and it went quite wide and quite high. And there was a no before he went to shoot, and then he has that second shot that's quite close, and it was a decent hit, decent connection. And then he gets the ball outside for the third time a few minutes later, and the whole crowd's going shoot. So he's getting there.
Mark made a great point on your post-match stream, Matt, when he talked about the positioning of Tavares being more advanced, allowing Hudson-Odoi to come inside to stand off the wing. Tavares has got chalk on his boots, just creates space and allows us to get him on the ball earlier in the move, because Hudson-Odoi is not going to run in behind. He needs to pick it up middle third, run at his man, get the crossing, come inside, whatever he's going to do. But there's some positional things around that to manufacture the right players getting on the ball at the right time. It was our best game for a while for a number of reasons, but that was one of them. You can see Nuno's influence, the tactics, the right fellas being on the ball at the right time, and the positioning of the fullbacks was critical to that. I thought that was a really good point from Mark.
And I think what Nuno's done as well, I think he said, right, you've got to cut the mistakes out. If it needs clearing, it's clearing. But when we did it, I think 3 or 4 times we've caused them problems. I said it earlier, by turning them, leaving that ball beyond the last man. And defenders hate facing their own goal. They panic a little bit. We saw that with Newcastle last season when we scored that great goal in the pouring rain. They can panic, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Mix it up and, just keep them guessing a little bit. Don't be too predictable. And it was nice to see that happening. It's nice to see defenders taken out of comfort zone.
Yeah, that ball from Murillo to Hudson-Odoi, he pinged it about 60 yards. I mean, that's a quality long pass as well. It shows the merits of actually not, going long when you need to. Thank you very much. I know I'm doing this a lot today, so appreciate people's patience. Thank you to Simon F for becoming a member. And thank you very much to Warren just for a £2 donation, saying we played the best game we had this season. That's very kind of you, Warren, for the cash, and I agree. Right, just wanted to turn the page last 10 minutes or so, looking ahead to upcoming fixtures. There's a really interesting bracket of games to come, Greg. Now this is the Premier League. Obviously, we've got FA Cup interspersed with this, but just focusing on the league for today. Aston Villa away, Liverpool at home, Brighton away. It's the next 3, and then it's Luton, Crystal Palace, and Fulham. So there's 2 distinct brackets there. How are you feeling about the next 3? Do you think we can kick on from here and take some momentum into those big games against Luton, Palace, and Fulham?
It just shows what a massive win this weekend was. It gives us that little bit of breathing space. There's no such thing as a free hit, is there? But the next 2 games, we get 2 points from them. They're big points, aren't they? Really big points with what's to come and the potential and the opportunities of the 3 points coming up. But, Villa are so much better than they were, the last couple of times we've played them. And that's going to be a huge, huge test. Any team that comes to the City ground, if we are like we were on Saturday, is going to find it really tough. So it doesn't matter if it's Liverpool for me. And I know they're on real good form. We can get something against a side at the City ground if we're all on it. Fans, players, the lot. And so that's a really exciting game for me. And if we do get something from it, God, the momentum it takes into those so-called, competitive or winnable games is exciting. So this was huge on Saturday. This gave us the belief that we can push on now. And then, these next two games, we've just got to see what happens and not get too high or not get too low.
Yeah, well said. Well said. That's my motto. What about you, Temps, and specifically as well, this Villa game? They've got quite a lot of injuries in key areas. They'll score goals and we might concede, but it doesn't feel like, as Mark said, a foregone conclusion. It feels like we can get something there.
Yeah, I think we're going to score. And if we pair that with defensive solidity, then we're going to be in a good position, aren't we? It's not a game we expect to win. I was quite bold before the West Ham game and said I expected us to get the win. Someone came up to me actually before the game and asked me if I really believed it or it was just me putting on a bit of a brave face. But I did. Villa away is a far tougher proposition. But the way we're going to set up for this game is not to sit and wait, is not to be passive, not to try and get out of there with a bore draw. I think we'll go for it. And I think the form of the attacking players will enable us to score. We've got to be mindful that run is coming up, the Luton run and the games in and around that against teams that are under increasing pressure will be important. But let's just enjoy this freedom. That win, as Greg said, has generated a feel-good factor and an ability to have a bit of a go. We don't need to go and shut up shop. Keep doing what we're doing. I think it will stand us in good stead when we come to those more winnable games where there is more expectation and we've established our patterns. Let's have a go, and let's forgive the boys in the gaffer if we fail in that endeavour, because I think the evolution of this team and the boldness that he's created, and the reason why people are getting excited about XG and all the rest of it, is because there's a freedom, but there's a structure behind it as well. Cut out the mistakes, solid from set pieces, centre halves communicating well, back four aligned, and then go and have a go.
Can I just say something? Nottingham Forest 2, Aston Villa 0.
Yes.
We did them there because they kept that high line, and they'll know our pace. If they keep that high line, they'll remember what we did to them at the City Ground. They'll be on the toes to not repeat that. And I think Nuno will be saying, look, what we did to them, just do exactly the same. We've got that pace. We can dictate when we want to do it. And I think Villa will be a little bit wary of that. And now Taiwo's back as well. I think they'll be even more wary. And they'll have watched our game against West Ham because they try and pick holes in everything. And I think, they'll be a little bit apprehensive. So I've got no, worries about going to Villa Park and after what I saw, we did to them, because that high line is one of the most dangerous lines you'll ever see in football. And it's very easy, if you've got intelligent players, to bypass it and to get beyond. And we've got Hudson-Odoi, we've got Alanga with that pace, we've got Taiwo, and they'll know that. And they might just drop a little bit deeper. You don't know, they might not. They might be still proactive in what they do in that. And why wouldn't they be? But I think there's no fear going there. And there's no fear about Liverpool. We beat them last season. We don't have to fear anybody. When we're on a game, we proved that we can, play with the big boys. We went to Newcastle and won 3-1. Nobody expected that. We beat Man United. Nobody expected that, although United aren't playing well. We can do that on any given day if we do things right. It's just when we just make silly mistakes, we give the opposition, that lift. But if we can cut that out, which we did against West Ham, we never, sort of looked like conceding, really. I think we've got a chance and a half there.
I'd really value a point at Villa, Gaz. I'd really value a point.
Right now, yeah. But I don't think there's anything to fear going there at all.
Let me just quickly thank our second sponsors. Excuse me, this episode. Brewback, a local business owned by Forest season ticket holder Danny Baker. As I've said before, thanks for your support, Danny. If you're a business that needs any help around noise, HR, health and safety, that kind of stuff, the link for Brewback is in our website. They are the company to help you out, and thanks for their support and Danny's support as ever.
Gary's shirt's a bit loud. Can Danny sort that out? The only thing that deafens me is Birtles' wardrobe.
Full on decibels.
Saying that just here, aren't you? Wait till we get face to face, eh?
No, offering each other out and fighting on podcasts. How are you feeling about the relegation battle in general, Greg, now after the weekend?
Yeah, we're not in it. We're fine. I'm good. It's just this points deduction, isn't it? I just wish we'd know soon.
Know when that's actually, coming to
April. It's April. So, the talk is 6 points or nothing. And if that's the case, keep winning games till we're 15 points away from the rest of them and then not have to worry about it. But yeah, it's not very nice not knowing that. But even the Luton manager was talking about it yesterday. They're acting like neither team's got any points deductions. That's how they're playing. So it's not affecting a team like Luton. So it certainly shouldn't affect a team like us. We just need to keep getting points on that board and keep going. We can't change anything about it, but it's that cloud hanging over the season so far. But other than that, I think we're in a very strong position now. Sheffield United are absolutely doomed. Burnley have stuck with their values too long and suffered for it. We could all see it coming. They're doomed as well. Luton have got some real fighting, and we saw it again yesterday, but it's only going to take one injury and they're off a cliff as well. And again, we're doing what teams are doing to us with Everton and thinking, well, they're probably going to get more points gone. So it's a real mess. It's a real mess that they're making it take this far. But other than that, other than waiting till April or whenever it is, we're in a good position and we're picking up points now and we're looking like a strong, exciting team that other teams are starting to be fearful of.
You sounded like something out of Dad's Army there. They're doomed.
They are doomed. God, Sheffield United, I've never seen a team like it in the Premier League. Just awful. Jack Robinson, what a waste. Anyway.
Well, there was Derby. There's teams like it.
Yeah, but even that, God, they were just horrendous yesterday. Really, really bad.
I do wish Luton would go away.
I know, they've got that fight.
I know, 2-0 down after 5 minutes. I thought, right, United can win this comfortably. I mean, United have got their own flaws, but fair play to Luton. They just keep going, don't they? I mean, it's quite one-dimensional. Fair enough, give it down to you, get it in the box. That's fine, but if he gets injured or Morris gets injured, then they've got problems. But
So what do we want from Palace Everton tonight? What suits us there?
Injuries and red cards.
I asked Mark yesterday because it was on my mind, and you trust him, don't you? And he said 0-0 will suit us best, and it could very much be that. So I'll go with that.
Yeah, you want a draw, don't you? I think. Well, yeah, I don't think Forest can lose really, because whoever wins the game, the other side's mentally down.
I think Palace have got more chance of dropping and keeping dropping, to be honest, because they just seem like the fans are really not happy. The players don't seem to be up for it. And I think for me personally, a Palace loss will probably be a little bit better. I think they're in danger.
Talking about Palace, can I just wish Roy Hodgson all the best? Because I worked with Roy when he was out of work a long time ago. We did the Spanish and, a few games together. And what a lovely, lovely man he really is. And, you just hate to, see things like that. And you just hope everything's going to be all right for him and he can, go and relax and retire and enjoy.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Right, I think that covers all the ground I wanted to get through today. Thanks for everyone's company. Any other business, Greg Mitchell?
Always got some. Only reason I come on.
Thanks.
It's a big week for Mull 2024, Steve Mulaney's testimonial year. And it's our opening dinner on Friday. There's loads of stuff going on over the year. He's kindly got involved with Stand Against MND. He's a really good friend of Sam Perkins, and that's one of his 2 chosen charities. So I just urge anyone, please, for me, just to go to mull2024.co.uk and sign up. Just sign up to the newsletter, see the things we've got going on this year. There's golf days, there's cricket days, there's gala dinners, there's all sorts, and there's going to be some great auction prizes, like everything. So mull2024.co.uk, I'd be ever so grateful if you can go and sign up, because he's just a top bloke.
Very good, very good. Gary, anything before we go?
Yeah, just that Haaland is, he's human, isn't he? You saw
He missed all those chances when I triple captained him in fantasy football. Yeah,
everybody was stunned. He was stunned, I think, but he'll bounce back. He'll get a hat trick next game. You can guarantee it.
Yeah.
I'm just delighted what I saw at City Ground on Saturday. It was just absolutely terrific all round. The noise was back at the ground, and it was bouncing again. And that's what you want at the City Ground. And that can give us a lift going forward. You know, you said yes, they've got battered by Arsenal, but they've been good this season. West Ham again. You know, they won that. You know, the trophy they won. You can't take that away from them. You know, you've got to beat them on any given day, and we beat them comfortably. And it was great to see that.
Michael Temple, anything from you?
I'm at Moul's dinner on Friday, so it'd be good to see Greg there. And I echo everything he said there. I've got a question for both of the boys. First of all, I believe it was Greg's special day a few days ago, so I just wanted to check in and see how old he really is, because there's been some debate around that, and if he did anything nice.
Oh, I had a terrible day at work, but we won't get into that.
Did you get some celebrations though, mate? Did you get a drink in later on?
Yeah, 39. So all that mattered was 3 points at the weekend. That's all I was bothered about, and we got it. So thank you, Nuno, for that. Very much appreciated.
And my question for Garry, so we had Fletch on last week, and he was talking about the time you rescued his wife in distress when she'd ripped up the carpet by mistake and couldn't get anything down. He also told us that you didn't charge him. So now he's this international Las Vegas Super Bowl attending superstar commentator. I think you should whack an invoice in, Gav.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking where he's working. Yeah, I still got my dad's tool, you know, because I was a floor layer, obviously. Went round, put the gripper down, you know, everything down, fitted the carpet for them, because I think she was pregnant at the time and it was a struggle. So yeah, it was a pleasure to do the you know, fit the carpet in the baby's room. And he likes living off that little bit of the story. He tells, you know, ex-England international fits my carpet in the bedroom. But it was a pleasure to do it.
I just thought there was going to be another dig at the shirt then, Temps, but you were very nice.
Well, yeah, I thought that as well. But Temps is a genuinely very nice chap.
Only one for me, on the theme of birthdays, is happy birthday in advance to Michael Temple for tomorrow. My favourite contribution on this podcast, apart from Garry and Greg and whoever else might have been here at a certain time. You know.
Thanks, lads. Yeah, excited to. Me and Greg are the same age at this moment in time, but only for one day more.
Well,
happy birthday. 40's nothing. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Right. We shall leave it there. I did say we wouldn't have very much on this week. It's half term, but I'll have a Villa opposition review tomorrow, Matt Ford on Wednesday, Thursday match preview, and Friday I've got another interview lined up. So there'll be just a full schedule as normal. And then Saturday is the Villa post-match show. So join us for all that if you can. Thanks for everyone's company today. Very much appreciate having, around 500 people with us for most of the show, even though we've done it so early on. So do us a favor. If you have enjoyed this and haven't already, hit like, do subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, etc., and give us a good review. It's all very much appreciated. Right. Greg Mitchell, thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Enjoyed that, everyone.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Michael Temple, thank you very much.
Good to see you all, fellas. See you soon.
And Garry Birtles, thank you very much.
Very enjoyable as per normal. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Like to be here.
We'll have you back soon. Have a good day, everyone. Hopefully see you tomorrow. But as I always say, in the meantime, we shall see you soon.